broomsticks. There was quite a saga with my broomstick. My first broomstick I was given when I was 12 years old, my 12th birthday, and I remember waking up and seeing it wrapped up with some other presents, and I knew it was my first broomstick, and I was so excited. It felt like the start of something. The start of something magical. As a child, I have always been interested in witchcraft and magic, and some of my favourite childhood stories involved witches. Anyway, my first broomstick. This broomstick came with me for every house move. When I was 18 and I first went to halls, and then it came home, and then when I moved again up north to Lancashire, which is North England, to do my postgraduate study, and then when I moved to Liverpool, it came with me, and when I moved back to London to my 3 flats that I was renting, not at the same time, but various flats, and I used it for rituals and spell work. This broomstick has been with me since I was 12, and it may just be a broomstick to other people, to a besom broom, but I have a strong attachment to it. And when I met my witch friends a few years ago, in my late 30s, early 40s, late 30s, and we started working together and doing rituals, I would always use my broomstick. Of course, no one else, I don't think they did. They had a thames and other magical tools, but for me, my broomstick came everywhere with me whenever I was doing some spell work. To retreats, all kinds, it went everywhere. And when was it? 2001, I noticed that some of the twigs were falling apart, and so my partner at the time tried to tighten it up so it would be secure, and I carried on taking it to various rituals and working with it and loving it. And then one day, it was Yule, which is December the 21st and the last pagan festival of the year, and we had just finished a ritual, and we tidied up. I said goodbye, and as I was walking down the road, I just happened to look behind me, and all I can say or describe was, it was like my broomstick had just said, oh no. It had just had enough, and there was twigs all over the road, there was branches, bits had come off, it just collapsed out of sheer exhaustion. And it was like that it had held on until the very last ritual of the year, and I'd kind of had signs before that with it falling apart, or the kind of the grip that held it together was loosening. And so I started gathering them up in the road and shoved everything back in my car, and I messaged my friends when I got home, and we all thought it was funny, but we all agreed it was a very strong sign that it was time for my broomstick to retire. Who retires a broomstick? I do. I retire my broomstick. And I really didn't want to, because I'd had my broomstick since I was 12, and I didn't think I could ever find any other broomstick that would feel the same. But then, the more I thought about it, I thought maybe it would be a fresh start. That was the broomstick of my childhood and my adulthood, and as I'm approaching menopause, early menopause, sort of middle age, maybe it's the right time to look. So I thought, okay, I will go and buy a new one. Little did I know that no one sells besom brooms anymore. I live in Kent. I looked in garden centres. I looked in hardware stores. I looked in witch shops. I asked everyone and anyone if they sold besom brooms. I didn't want to get a broom online. I wanted to find it in a shop and see it and feel it and have that connection. Because I could have just got one from Amazon, but it didn't feel very special or magical, really. Who knew how hard it is to find a besom broom? I looked everywhere. I spent a year on and off looking. I'm from Kent. No, I live in Kent. Each time we travelled, had a few days break, were on holiday, I would look in that area for broomsticks. I looked in Northumberland, right at the top. North England is on the border of England and Scotland. I looked in Northumberland. I looked in Yorkshire. I looked in Sussex. I looked in Glastonbury. I don't mean the festival, I mean the town. It is famous for its hippies and its witchcraft shops. And if you cannot find a broomstick in Glastonbury, you cannot find a besom broomstick. And do you know, every shop I went to, no, not strictly true, every shop but one I went to said they didn't sell broomsticks. Some said they used to, but there's no longer demand for them. One shop I went to is called the Wonky Broomstick, and I know of that shop because I have bought witch supplies before. And the lady there who runs the shop, she has an online website, and I'm always buying different witch supplies from her, and Kate, her name is, she's lovely. So I thought she's going to have a broomstick. Because it's called the Wonky Broomstick. And do you know, she did they had some beautiful broomsticks, but they were so beautiful, but they were really out of my price range. They were in triple figures. They were beautiful, but all I wanted was a very plain broomstick that I could decorate myself, or not decorate. So I did consider it, but those 2 broomsticks she had weren't suitable, and it was actually very heavy for me. So I had to turn that opportunity down, and it was frustrating because I had looked all over the UK by this point, and I really thought I would be able to find one in Glastonbury. During this time, and this whole process has taken 2 years, I decided I would make my own. And so the broomstick on the screen now is one I made. It's not great, and who knew it would be so hard? The handle was from my father-in-law's woodland, and it was cobnut. It's cobnut, I believe. Is it cobnut? And I sanded it, and I loved it, and I sanded and bonded with it, and it took me weeks to get it to a colour and a texture that worked. Well, I gathered various birch and hazel twigs, as you can see, and bound them together. And then when I was walking in my parents', the nearest woodland to my parents, someone had dumped this old jasmine plant, and I loved how it was twisty and turny, so I took that back and I've incorporated that. So that is my homemade broomstick. It's heavy, and it's not a broomstick I can take out with me. It won't work, it's too heavy. So there we go. But it was an experience, and that didn't work. So that's 2 broomsticks. And then I happened to be talking to my mum, and she knows I've been looking for a broomstick. She suddenly remembered that she had a besom broom in the garage, because when she bought my one when I was 12, she bought one for herself and one for my sister. And so she gave me her old one. So 3. And I was really grateful for that, although I thought it was very funny that I had been talking and obsessing over looking for 2 years, and she had one in the garage. But the broomstick I wanted it to be something that I had found and purchased. I suppose I had a romantic idea of finding a little witchy shop shrouded in mist, and just finding this besom broom in the corner. Unfortunately, that fantasy, that dream, wasn't realised. I had no idea what a dying art besom broom making is, which is sad. Now, we're up to 3 broomsticks, and I had been to Northumberland and Yorkshire. I had been to Sussex. I had been to Glastonbury and Somerset. While I was in Somerset last year, I was Googling like mad. There must be a shop that sells broomsticks. And this, the beautiful irony. There was a place that sold broomsticks, I found, but it wasn't in Somerset. Where was the place? And yes, when I contacted the lady, she said, we always sell them. We sell all kinds of rustic outdoor tools, and we're always selling besom brooms. And the location was 30 minutes from my home. So, October 2024, I drove there with my daughter, found the shop, which is on the quayside in Faversham, and there was a collection of brooms, and I selected the broom that seemed to resonate with me, and I was so excited. I finally found my broom. My journey of finding my broomstick is at the end. When I started my journey, I didn't expect to end up with 4. I only wanted another one. But there we are. And to me, it reminds me of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where she has the ruby slippers, silver slippers, and it's within her all along. She always had the capability to go home all along. She had to go on that journey. So for me, going to all these different places across the UK, and the place that sold besom was right on my doorstep, makes me think of Dorothy and her shoes. So, because I am talking about broomsticks, I thought it would make sense to show you some of the broomsticks, the mini broomsticks I make for my business. Taking my glasses off, this means business. I can't see a thing. I set up a little Etsy business. It's in the very early stages, and I'm still growing in confidence. Well, I would say not so much growing as in trying to gain confidence. But one of the things I love making is mini broomsticks out of materials I foraged and found. And the idea is that you use them on your altar or as decorations around the home. A group of broomsticks in the corner just gives me tingles. So I thought I would show you some of the ones I've made. They were a mixture of wonky and rustic. Nothing I make is pristine and perfect and slick. But actually, if you think about the wise women in previous centuries, they would work with what they had, with herbs, bundles of herbs, so it wouldn't be about a professional outfit. Not that wise women made broomsticks for altars. They were obviously called upon to administer physique, it was called, herbal medicine. Anyway, I'm talking rubbish. So this is from my rustic range. This was inspired by Lammas. It has dried lavender and grasses, tied with sheep's wool, and it has a little charm, little pumpkin. I loved making this, and just a group of them hanging up. I love it. I love broomsticks. I love making them. And the other one, which is very similar, I'll show you. I make them in all different sizes. I find all the materials are foraged ethically, so I don't pick or cut any woodland in Kent that says please don't forage, then I don't. There's a lot of ancient woodland in Kent. No, there's not a lot, that's the point. There is only a few ancient woodland areas left. but we're lucky that we do have some. And so I don't forage in those, but anything I do forage, it's materials that have fallen on the ground, so twigs that I found on the ground, or pine needles, pine cones, and then if it's a nice looking branch, then I sand it. It's got some grasses that I foraged, and dried lavender and wheat. So this is what I call the rustic range. The other type I do, which is a bit left field, is this type. You can see this is made with white pine, foraged from pine forest. And it has bells and a little chalice and some stones. The stones are jade, and it's been bound together by wax, sealed with wax, and entwined with gold thread. So these brooms can be used either as aesthetic, you hang them up, but the intention that I've put into when I'm creating them is that they are a purification tool. So when you're doing your spell work or your ritual, you use them to sweep away negative energy, purify the area. Especially pine is really good for purifying areas. So, of course, none of these are slick and perfect looking, but my creations are all about working with what I have, working with what I found. Apart from, obviously, I didn't just find a bell and a little charm, but being mindful and going with my intuition and instinct. And again, if you think back to the wise women of previous centuries, they would have used wax to seal things, and they would have moulded with it, and nothing there would have been done for the idea of aesthetic and perfection. It would have been functional and served a purpose. Here's the other one I made, and they're all, of course, because they're all handmade, they all look a little bit different. Again, this is white pine, and it has a pentangle. It has little tiny pine cones. I'm showing it to the microphone as if the microphone is a camera. What complete... So I'm just going to wrap these ones back. The shop I have set up doesn't just do broomsticks, of course. So I create, I make bath salts, seasonal bath salts, so around autumn they will be, you might want to, but it's all part of that theme, that season. So I do bath salts. I also make beeswax candles infused with herbs, teacup candles which are really sweet. I will show you sometime. I have been making home protection charm goddess dolls, and I'm starting to make wind chimes. And I've also been making, which is really fun, is travel altar bags. So an altar that you can take with you, a portable altar that can fit in your suitcase if you're on holiday, or if you're out for the day. Anyway, that is my broomstick ramble. I hope you enjoyed it. Equally, I hope it sent you to sleep. Thank you for your comments and coming back after I neglected you all for 4 years. So I cannot thank you enough. Your comments are so, I read all of them, and they're just, they're lovely. They're really warm my heart. So thank you.